There was a time in the LGBT community when you would have thought, well, the only images in film were white guys, and those were the only people talking about our community, but that's not our community. And a case in point is our next guest, Elisa Huerta, talking about the Queer Women of Color Film Festival. Elisa,
hi.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Now, this is the 8th year for the festival, correct?
It is.
And I understand that this year the focus is on 2 countries, very specific, Colombia and
Chile. We're actually, our festival theme focus is marriage equality. I do and I don't, right? To talk about the complexities, right? We all come to that question in different ways. But the other thing we're very excited about is we've been cultivating a relationship with an organization in Colombia that's called Mujeres al Borde. And so we're really trying to focus on that transnational, that relationship. And they were actually really inspired by the QuackMap program, by the training program that we have, to do their own training program. And since we couldn't afford, to go down there, they actually found their own trainers and everything, and they produced 7 films that are from communities in Chile and in Colombia.
It's encouraging to hear that the cultural component of the LGBT community is now expanded beyond its base. I mean, we all have heard of Frameline and various LGBT film festivals all over the world, but now we're really showing the true face of our community.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Our communities are so diverse and so rich and complex in their experiences, and especially there's some films that come out of this relationship really focuses on that and highlights that. There's one film that really called Loca, Loca, Loca that talks about, which is like crazy, 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 right? But it talks about this person who identifies as a travesti or a transsexual, transgender person, and talks about how because of who she is, she was not afforded the same education as other folks. So she doesn't have the same language, just the other resources to defend herself then in the community that she's in. And so she intersects those conversations of LGBTQ issues and education and poverty, and really talks about what those relationships, what that experience is altogether.
How long have you been with the festival?
Let's see, I started as the festival manager in 2008. I worked for 2 years as the festival manager, and then I actually changed, and now I work at UC Berkeley, but I continue to volunteer as the volunteer coordinator since then. So I love working with the community. Right.
What has been the greatest joy of your years with the festival? What makes you think, this is why I do this work?
I think it's 2 things. One, it's definitely a labor of love. Madeline Lim, Kibo Drew, Liliana Hueso, Zoila Aviles, all the people who have come through and work at QuackMap, they do it. We don't do it for the money or the fame or the glory, because there's not, honestly, a lot of that.
Not a lot of fame or glory or money,
And actually, we have to really fight to, as you talked about, what the representations have been historically in the films are white men. If that even, right? If we get that. So really, like, what does it mean just to be there? And I think what does it mean to be queer women of color, and queer people of color in trans communities? What does it mean to have a representation of our stories? So it's that labor of love. And I think the other thing that makes me just very happy is that it's really community-based. It's really people who are telling their lived experiences, telling their lives, and people who are not going for the fame and glory, but they're people who are teachers and who are artists and who are people who work in finance and people who work, who do all kinds of jobs and decide, I want to make a film, and then they get it done, and it's amazing.
Well, I understand we have a clip of some of your past works. We're going to take a look at that now and let some people see what the work you do is all about.
Fantastic.
Now, that was the trailer for last year's festival.
It was.
But this year's festival, the 8th annual, is around the same time. What are the dates in June?
The 8th, 9th, and 10th of June.
Right. Now, you know, I'm looking at that and I'm seeing the seriousness. I mean, it was a wonderfully kind of fun clip, but how important is it to a community to see themselves in film?
It's tremendously important. You know, you can just see that at the film festival. We actually have to turn people away more and more. But we were at the Brava Theater, and that's why we're moving to the Novell Theater at the Yerba Buena Center. So now we're going to be completely free and in a larger venue.
Which is, that's an incredible,
exactly.
So that's at the corner of 3rd and Howard,
Yerba
Buena Gardens, an amazing
and it's
theater.
Beautiful, and we're so excited to be, we have 38 world premiere films that'll be showing by, that are all directed, written, produced by queer women of color, genderqueer, and trans folks. So we're really
What
excited.
do you think the impact is of a festival, or specifically your festival, on quote-unquote mainstream film?
I think it's definitely there. You know, when you see like a movie like Pariah coming out, that was actually, I worked at on a film festival in Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz, and we showed a very short piece of Pariah when it was in its very first, kind of incarnation. And now to see it in the major films and to really see what that looks like, to have, it was such a big impact to have a film like that. And I think that just as more and more of these films get created, every year we have so many films getting created through our training program, that there's no doubt that we're going to have a larger impact, and people are going to really see that our stories matter and are important not only to our communities but to the larger communities.
Yeah. Why this year's theme, marriage equality? I mean, I have to admit, I'm a married man now. I'm one of those so many thousand. Thank you very much, legally and all that. But, even I had to think over the last couple of years, oh my God, one more movie about same-sex marriage. I mean, please.
Sure. Well, I think it's because whether we agree or not, or whatever, we have mixed feelings, whether we're ambivalent, we all get interpolated into that conversation, right? Somebody's always going to, if you say that you're queer, somebody's always going to bring up that conversation.
So there is a specific perspective from queer women of color on this issue.
Well, and I think it's not specific. It's actually marriage equality. I do and I don't. So I'm actually in a film that's based on the love story of our festival manager and our training, the person who does our training, Liliana and Zoila. And we're talking about what the complexities of that are, because they're actually a transnational couple. One is born in LA, but also in Guadalajara, lives in Guadalajara, and the other person is in Ensenada. And the impossibility of their being able to get married, right? So it's also not only I do or I don't. It's actually some people don't have the choice.
It's like
it's still not going to work.
Exactly right.
Que no puedo, quiero pero no puedo, or and some of us also don't have, aren't going to decide. It's not as easy as I do or I don't sometimes. So we need to have a conversation about that, and we just want to have a more complicated conversation about that and bring up everything to the forefront around that and have that within our communities.
In our last few moments, tell me what are some of the favorite films that you are looking forward to for this year in June?
Well, I have to totally do a shameless plug for Zoila's film that I'm in, Corazón de Melón. It was so much fun to be just in there, and all of us have never acted before, and we just had so much fun. And my other favorite is one of the films from Mujeres al Borde that's called was Todo un Hombre, which is a true man. And it's just a really beautiful film.
Great.
So I'm really excited.
Thank you very much for being with us. We've been speaking with Elisa Huerta of the Queer Women of Color
Media Arts Project.
Thank you very much. I got to learn the acronym better. I apologize.
Okay.
So from talking about issues on film, next up we're going to learn about the very serious implications of LGBT immigration. We'll be right back.